What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Derek D. Wild, man. Make sure you subscribe and follow my YouTube page. Follow me on Twitter at Derek Wilder, and follow me on Twitch at DWildmanTV. Today, I'm going over a game from one of my close homeboys, one of my closest chess friends. His name Cameron Tolliver. He went to the World Open, and he had a pretty decent score. He had a pretty decent score, and he left the tournament with a. He's officially a candidate master. He scored 4.5 out of 8 because he withdrew the last round. This was a very funny, phenomenal, and intriguing game. Cameron pretty much dominated this game positionally, like from top to bottom. He pretty much dominated this guy. But actually, what's so phenomenal about this game is his opponent was down exchange and missed a move that would have forced a mate, and Cameron couldn't get out of it. And now we crack jokes and talk about it. And he said if his opponent would have played this move, he would have quit chess forever. This was at the World Open round 5 in the under 2200 section. Cameron played expert named Matthew Scott 2116. Game started off pawn d4, pawn c6, the Caro-Kann defense, d4, d5. If you're not familiar with Cameron around the Detroit area, Cameron is, since I know him, been pretty much like a French player, but the last couple tournaments he just switched over to playing the Caro-Kann. I think he switched it, you know what I'm saying, if we could get it, you know, the light square bishop active and all that other stuff. His opponent plays e5. After e5, we got a advanced variation of the French. I apologize. We got the advanced variation of the Caro-Kann. Let me load in this stockfish on my chess base while I'm going over the game. Pawn e5, c5. Like I said, Cameron is a French player, so I guess this gives him similarities and familiar with the French defense. c5, his opponent plays c3, knight c6, knight f3. After knight f3, Cameron played bishop g4, putting pressure on the d4 square. Also, you know, maybe with threats of like queen b6, queen b6, you know, queen b6 attacking the pawn chain. His opponent played bishop b5, pinning the knight, e6. Remember, you always want to develop your pieces and get castled. His opponent played dxc5, kind of giving up, pressure. Tension in the center. Cameron played bishop f3, queen f3, bishop xc5. If you look at this position is equal. Cameron got everything he wanted from this position. He was able to develop all his pieces, not all his pieces, but majority of his pieces with no pressure, no really fight for the center, tricky lines. And his plan is pretty much simple. He's going to develop his knight and get castled. You know, knight go here and get castled. His opponent castles, Cameron castles. His opponent plays bishop g5. Bishop g5 is a pin on the knight on e7. Majority of the time you get in pins, you try to break them, get out of it. Cameron steps out the pin. Queen b6, attacking this bishop on this bishop on b5, and if the bishop moves, also hitting here. So you can either take, and I got a saying I've learned from Yakov. I took a lesson from National Master Yakov. He has a saying that a bishop is worth $1,000 and knights are worth 500. So his opponent played queen e2, protecting the bishop, not want to move your chess pieces back. Cameron develops the piece. He plays knight g6. When he plays knight g6, he's putting more pressure on the pawn on e5, as you can see. The knight here and this knight here, is attacking e5. He can't capture the knight with this. He can't capture the pawn with this knight because it's pinned to the bishop. But just giving ideas and threats, his opponent plays b4, attacking this bishop on b4. But also, when this position occurs after pawn b4, this pawn right here on c3 becomes weak. So Cameron plays bishop e7. After bishop e7 is played, trying to trade off these bishops, bishop here and here. His opponent didn't want to trade because I think trading the bishops on e7 helps Cameron. His opponent, Matthew plays bishop e3. I'll slide my queen back to c7. Now, when you slide your queen back to c7, look how many times this pawn on e5 is being attacked. You have the knight here, this knight here, and this queen here, all going to that one square on e5, right? This bishop is pent right here, right, by this knight, but this knight right here on g6 and this queen here is attacking this pawn. This pawn is what we call kind of like weak or isolated. So now we're finna get to the middle game, and if you don't know Cameron, Cameron has a very, very strong middle game. He's probably one of the best, I'll say one of the best middle game players in Michigan. You got to watch how he put these pieces together. So white doesn't want to drop the pawn on e5, so he plays bishop d4. And when he plays bishop d4, this bishop right here on d4, it kind of becomes a little passive because it's you know, it's protecting a pawn and it's not like freely to roam around the board. Black castles. He plays bishop xc6. When he plays bishop xc6, he's kind of taking pressure off the e5 square. Cameron captures again, bxc6. His opponent plays knight d2. And if you look at this position, if you just take your time and look at this position, black is better. Black is better. He has this e5 target. This is kind of weak. This square is kind of weak. So I kind of like black position, and I know Cameron, a very, very strong middle game positional player, sat there comfortable and he liked his position. So after knight d2, probably after knight d2, the plan for Mr. Scott was probably bring this knight to f3 and protect e5 with the knight, and probably like get his rook either from f1 to d1 on e5, protecting the pawn. So after knight f3 was played, knight f3, I apologize, Cameron played bishop xc5, knight b3. That's a good move. I like knight b3, hitting the knight on c5. Cameron brought his bishop back to b6. His opponent played queen e3, kind of lining everything up and also kind of like fighting for this square, in my opinion. Cameron played rook a e8. f4 is played. Now after f4, this pawn is protected by another pawn. He can kindly free up the bishop and stuff. f6. After f6 was played, his opponent played king h1. Remember this square right here. Remember I said this square was weak. Cameron immediately puts a queen on c4. It's just like a potential. If you play a lot of chess, it's just like a good chess move. Queen c4. You want to take squares from your opponent. So after queen c4, his opponent chases the queen away with knight d2. Cameron plays queen a4. Remember, this pawn, my bad, remember, this pawn is weak. This square is weak. You know, so if he could kind of trade this pawn off or get a c4 push, that would kind of help white. Knight f3, Cameron plays bishop c7. After bishop c7, rook fb1, rook a b1. Remember, you always want to put rooks on open files, and that's what he did. He got his rook on open file. Cameron took on a2. He brought his rook down to b7. This is also called having your rook on the 7th file, 7 rank. That kind of works good there, cut off mobility for black. But when he played rook b7, as you can see, it was a huge blunder because Cam found a way where he could hit both rooks. And with that being said, I apologize, Cameron played queen a6. And when he played queen a6, as you can see, this rook and this rook are both being hit by black queen. Now you got yourself into a problem, because now you got to solve two problems at one time. If he takes on f1, queen f1, that's checkmate. You know, and the rook on b7 is also being attacked. So he played rook fb1, and then Cameron plays this creative move right here, bishop b6. And when bishop b6 is being played, as you can see, this cuts off the communication between this rook and that rook because the bishop's in the way. You see what I'm saying? So if bishop b6 is played, Cameron would just come back, capture the rook, be up the rook. So His opponent played rook d7, which is a good move. Cameron played queen a4. Still, after queen a4, still putting pressure on the rook. Rook b7 was played again. Cameron played queen c6. Queen c6 was played, and this cuts off all the squares for the rook. The rook is still being attacked, and there's nowhere it can go. So rook 7 captures b6, ax b6, rook x b6. Cameron is up the exchange and completely dominating this game. He has material advantage. He's completely dominating this game. Queen c4. Remember, this is a good square. Pawn h4. fx e5. fx e5. Queen f1 check. King h2. Knight f4. Knight f4 is being played, also threatening a checkmate on g2. As you can see, if the queen takes here, as you can see, my bad, both pieces are threatening to capture on g2, which is checkmate. Queen d2 is played. Cameron comes up with this creative move, knight x g2. The reason he can play knight x g2 because this knight right here becomes double attacked by this queen and this rook. Simple tactic, an overloaded piece. Queen x g2, queen f3, queen f3, rook x f3. Look at this position. Cam is completely winning. And pretty much game is over. You know, I probably would have resigned, but his opponent kept fighting on and actually missed this opportunity to win this game. So after rook x f3, he played king g2, rook f7. His opponent went king g3. Cameron went pawn h5, rook a6, king h7. I guess he's starting to get his king up into the game. Rook b6 was played, king g6, rook b2. Doubled up the rooks on the f file, rook g2. And right here, this is the key moment of the game. And this is why I tell some of my students the hardest game to win is a one game, because when you're up material, I don't care if it's a pawn, knight, bishop, you kind of take your foot off the gas and be on autopilot mode. During this game, I'm pretty sure Cameron think, you know, rook g2, I'm going to double up my rooks. There's no fight for white. He's just moving pieces. Cameron played king f5. Take a minute and look at this move. King f5. Now, Cameron didn't see this move during the game, but like you said, he's a close friend of mine. And after the game, he went over the game, and his coach in the engine found this move, and he just couldn't believe it. King f5. And what's wrong with king f5 is if white would have played this king right here to f3, he is threatening rook g5 checkmate. There's nothing Cameron can play to stop that move. Pretty much Cameron on autopilot just played king f5, not looking at the position, and that's why it's key to always analyze the position, take your time, and never take your foot off the gas. And I'm a victim of this myself. I done dropped plenty of games because once I get up material, majority of the time, and I go on autopilot mode and kind of take my foot off my opponents. You know what I'm saying? That Cameron played king f5, and this was played at the World Open in the under 2200 section. These are two expert players, and if an expert can make that mistake of missing, that's a force mate in one game. People under 2,000 lower rated players, that let you know everybody makes mistake. King f3, game is over. Threatening rook g5, game is over. Game is over. There's nothing, nothing black can do about it. And Cameron cracked a joke on me. He said, hey man, if my opponent would have played this, I'd have quit chess, you know what I'm saying, forever, ever. Look at that. King f3. The rook's cutting off the g5. There's nothing Cameron can do. This king right here is cutting off these squares. Game is over. But we'll continue to go over the game. After king f5, After king f5, his opponent stepped king h3. Cameron went king e4. After king e4, rook g6 was played. Rook f3, king g2, rook a f4, rook x e6, rook g4, king h2, rook takes h4, king g2, rook g4 check, king h2. And this pretty much just walking the ladder. This rook cutting off the square and getting the other rook over. Bring the rook back, rook b6, king f3, game over. Game over. Cameron won this game after World Open. But I'm going to just take my time, and we're just going to go back to this position right here. Right here. Right here. I know what was going on in Cameron's mind. He got a complete one game. He's on autopilot. He's taking it easy. Look at the continuation. Rook g2. King f5. Look at it. King f5. King f3. King f3. Game is over. So I want you to take from this game, even though my boy Cameron won, a shout out for him for sending me this game, is when you have your foot on your opponent's neck. And as you see, these are two expert players. Matthew Cardinal Scott was 2116, Cameron was 2010. These are two strong, highly expert, phenomenal players. Like I said, you don't get to 2000 if you can't play no chess. And both of them missed king f3. I want you to know that mistakes is made. It's just the people. My coach got a saying, the person who wins the chess game is the person who recognizes his opponent's mistakes or makes the least mistakes. So I just want you to take, you know what I'm saying, from this game, hey, always, I don't care if you're up a queen, knight, bishop, rook, pawn, never take your foot off your opponent's neck till the game is over. Never get too relaxed. Get on autopilot, because look at this. Look, this is a perfect example of just being on autopilot. You know, I'm up to exchange. There's nothing he can do. And always look deeper. Try to look as deep as you can. This your boy Derek D. Wildman. Going to my boy Cameron Tolliver game. I appreciate it. Subscribe, follow the channel. Check out the Detroit Chess Killers podcast. Follow me on Twitch at TwitchDWildman. Y'all have a blessed day. And I got a saying, good vibes, good people. Thanks, man. Peace.